right. Hi, everybody. How are we all doing? My name is Elizabeth. I am one of the education program coordinators at the Science Center. And today we're going to be doing an activity about volcanoes. So I'm going to go over quickly the materials that we need in case you don't have any one of the things. You have a little bit of time to go grab them. So first of all, this activity can be a little bit messy. So you're going to want some sort of a tray. And you might also want a rag so that you can clean up. And then you're gonna need some sort of a small cup like this. A film canister could work, or like a small medicine cup, but something along these lines. And then you're going to need some aluminum foil to build our volcano. And then we're gonna need to test our volcano. So to test our volcano, we're gonna use some vinegar. You can use white vinegar or apple cider vinegar. They both work the same. And some baking soda. And then like a small spoon is a great thing to be able to scoop our baking soda with. All right, so while you guys are getting set up and while I finish getting set up, I'm gonna turn it over to my friend Peter here. And Peter is gonna tell you a little bit about Zoom and today's activity.
Hey everybody, my name's Peter. As Elizabeth said, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Zoom. I recognize some of you, but we have some new faces, which is awesome. So I'll go over some quick Zoom sort of guidelines and ways to use it a little bit better. So the first thing is we are recording this session. We'll just be recording Elizabeth's video though, so your face won't appear in there, but anything you say will probably appear in the recording, and we'll repost that on Facebook. So just a heads up on that. You should feel free to have your video on. Some of you have already done that. We love to see people's faces when they're working. So you can feel free to turn that on, but if you're not comfortable, you're always welcome to turn it off. To turn your video on and off, you can go to the bottom of your screen, and on the left side, there's a little video camera. You can click that on or off. It's also right next to that useful to look at the mute button. It is a little microphone, and it's really helpful to have everybody muted when they're not talking, just so that we don't hear stuff that's going on in your house, we don't hear your dog or your parents, and that way we can sort of make sure we can hear what Elizabeth's saying or any questions that all of you have. So it looks like everybody's muted right now, which is awesome. I want us to practice muting and unmuting ourselves so we can get a chance. So I'm gonna count down from 3, and then you'll all click the unmute button and we'll say, "Good morning, science friends," and then we'll mute ourselves again. Does that sound good? Awesome. 3, 1, unmute.
Good morning, science friends.
Science friends.
Oh, good morning. Go ahead and unmute yourself. That way we can hear everything. Perfect. That was awesome. If you want to ask a question, you can always unmute yourself. You can also raise your hand if you're on video and I will see you. You can also raise your hand digitally, which is sort of a funny thing in Zoom. If you go to the bottom of your screen again and you click on participants, it's a little button with 2 people's heads there. You can click on that and you'll see a whole bunch of options. One of those options is a hand. It's a blue hand that says raise hand. And if you do that, I'll see that as well. And that way, even if you don't have a video, I can see that you have something you want to comment on or ask a question about. All right. Another good thing you can do is you can write a message in the chat. Some people have already done, which is great. So you can always go to the bottom of the screen again. There's a little speech bubble. You can click on that and you can write some messages in there. Let's see. I'm going to write hi to everyone. So you can always write a message in there. That way we can, if you're not feeling comfortable or you don't want to interrupt Elizabeth, you can always write a message there. Right now I can see everybody's face because I have a whole grid of different videos up right now. But if you want to just see what Elizabeth's doing, I'll have her talk in a minute so you can find her again. But once you find her, you can click in the top right corner of her video are 3 dots. If you click on that, you can click pin video and then you'll just see Elizabeth.
Hi everyone. Yep, if you want to find my video, you can click those 3 dots in the upper right corner and pin my video, and that way you'll be able to see everything I'm doing.
Awesome. I think one last thing, making sure I'm not forgetting anything. If you want to rename yourself, the name of yourself or your kid, you can go ahead and click the 3 dots on your video screen and click rename. That way we don't have to call you by your parent's name, for instance, if it's their computer or iPad. It's a little easier for us to keep track of everybody.
Okay.
All right. Elizabeth, am I forgetting anything?
I think that pretty much covers it. Are we
Awesome.
ready to get started? All right, I see some nodding. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing we have to do is build our volcano. Now, of course, this isn't a real volcano, it's a little test model, but we're gonna use our model volcano to test some experiments. So you're gonna start with your little cup, and you're gonna grab a piece of aluminum foil, and we're gonna build our volcano. All right, so one way you can do this is if you have also like a small plate as well, you can kind of build from your volcano or build from your cup down to your plate, or you can kind of clump the foil around your cup here. So you're kind of making like a base for your volcano. Something like that. And you can keep adding more foil sheets if you have enough and your parents are okay with that. If you feel like your volcano's ready, then you're gonna take one final sheet and you're actually gonna go right over the top of the cup. So you're gonna cover it up, go right over the top of it. And then we have kind of a solid surface for our volcano. All right, but now our volcano is gonna need a place for all of the stuff to erupt out. So once you've made your surface, then you're going to take, you can use your finger or you can use your small spoon, and you're gonna just poke a hole right where your little cup is. All right, so now this is my volcano. All right, I'll give everybody, it looks like I see people still working, so that's fine. You can definitely have a little bit more time to perfect your volcano. And then once your volcano is ready to test, you're gonna wanna put it in a tray of some sort because this can get pretty messy. All right, so I'm gonna tilt this down a little bit more so you can see what's happening in my volcano. There we go. All right, now we have some supplies today that you may have heard of before. So who has used baking soda for anything before? Yep, I see some people raising your hands. What have you used baking soda for?
Wait, baking.
Baking, right? Yeah. So if you're baking like cookies or bread or something, then you're probably using some baking soda because that makes some important chemical reactions to make the baking work. So we're gonna do a chemical reaction in our volcano too. So how many of you have used vinegar? Anybody ever used vinegar for anything? Yeah, what have you used vinegar for?
Me.
Yep, what have you used vinegar for?
For food.
For food, yep.
And we dyed eggs yesterday.
Oh, for dyeing eggs. Yep.
For cleaning.
For cleaning, yeah. So vinegar has a lot.
Vinegar for salad dressing.
Ah, for salad dressing, yeah. So vinegar has a lot of uses because it's an acid. All right, so it can be really helpful for cleaning things. It can make things taste kind of tangy or sour, so we use it in food. So yeah, so vinegar we've probably used in a lot of ways. All right, has anybody ever mixed baking soda and vinegar together? If you have, let me know what happens. Has anyone tried it before?
There's a reaction.
There's a reaction, yeah. What does the reaction look like, or what does it sound like? Anybody?
It's like an explosion.
It's kind of like an explosion, and I see somebody kind of miming like this. Yeah, right? That's kind of what happens. So if we put baking soda and vinegar in our volcano, what do we think is going to happen?
It's
Well,
gonna be
the
jammed
reaction.
in.
Yeah, so we might get that reaction. All right, so let's give it a shot. So first thing you're going to do, take a small spoon into our baking soda. And then we're gonna just put a little bit of baking soda into your cup there. You don't need a whole lot because it is a very strong reaction. All right, so once you've got your baking soda in there and ready, then we're gonna grab our vinegar. All right. Now, we don't want to pour a ton of vinegar in because we want to make sure there's enough space to reuse our volcano. So we're going to start with just a little bit. All right, are we ready? We're going to pour a little bit in and see what happens. Whoa! My volcano is definitely erupting. All right, how about yours? Anybody have a, ooh, I see some good volcanoes. Yeah. Nice. Let's see. It's like Nick and Olive have an awesome one there. Cool. All right. So if you want to get a bigger reaction, we could try adding a little bit more, right? So we can add a little bit more baking soda, and then even a little bit more vinegar. And whoa, I got a really big reaction. Now, what are you noticing about your reaction? Does anyone have any observations you want to share?
Mine exploded.
Yours exploded? Awesome.
Yeah.
What else? Anybody else?
Me and Olive are getting some bubbles.
Ah, you're getting a bunch of bubbles. All right, awesome.
Bubble.
So somebody else has bubbles? I also had a bunch of bubbles. It's pretty cool. All right. Now, yeah, those bubbles you're getting is because of the reaction between the baking soda and the vinegar. So he's talked about how vinegar, how it's an acid, it's acidic, and baking soda is kind of the opposite. It's what's known as a base. And so when you combine things that are acids and bases, they have a reaction like that. And another cool thing you can do with acids and bases, and Peter's gonna put a...
It exploded.
Yours exploded too? That's awesome. All right, so I wanna try this experiment again in a different way. And so when you're using acids and bases, there are certain things that change color depending on whether something is an acid or a base. So right here, I have some vinegar that has a little bit of cabbage in it. Have you guys ever eaten cabbage? I see some shaking heads. I see some nodding. So some people have eaten cabbage. Some people maybe don't like cabbage. All right. If you've ever eaten cabbage, you can actually take that cabbage and kind of boil it, and it will make juice that changes color depending on when it's an acid or a base. So right now here is a little bit of cabbage juice and a lot of vinegar. So when it is with an acid like vinegar, it's this bright red color. But when it meets something that's basic, like our baking soda, it changes color. So I'm gonna do the experiment again, and this is something that you can do at home as well. All right, so Peter's gonna put a link to an activity that you can do if you wanna make your own cabbage juice at home. And I'm gonna try another reaction here. with a little bit more baking soda. And then I'm gonna add my bright red vinegar here. Ah, and for me it turned purple. So kind of because we had the acid and the base, right? All right, now you guys can keep experimenting with your volcanoes, see how you can get the biggest possible explosion. You could try other materials too, see what you might be able to find. Let's see here. I'm gonna try a little bit more of this. Does anybody have any ideas of what you could try to make your volcano explode more? I see a bunch of people have some awesome exploding volcanoes. Do you have any ideas, Liam?
I have a few.
What?
Put a big thing in it, and then put some soil in it.
Oh, you could try putting some soil in it. That's an interesting idea. I have.
Whoa!
Anybody else have ideas of what we could do to make it really a big explosion? I'm gonna put my paper towel here before I do a big explosion.
Okay, now what? This and squeeze lemon. Oh yeah!
I like that idea. So let's see, was that Liv? Yeah, so Liv had an idea of using baking soda and something else that's acidic, like a lemon. All right, so that's another thing you could try at home as well. I don't have any lemons with me, so I'm not going to be able to try that, but I would love to see what happens if somebody else, maybe if Liv, if you have a lemon or some lemon juice, if you could try that, I would love to see how that works. But all I have is vinegar, so I'm gonna see what I can do to do one final giant volcano eruption here. So I'm gonna put a couple of spoonfuls of baking soda in my cup here. All right, and then I'll use the, yeah.
I used food coloring, and then it exploded blue and orange. Yeah.
Oh, so there's another way to make it colorful. Right, so Kaysen and Camden added some food coloring to make their volcano colorful too. That's an awesome idea. So if you have some food coloring or even maybe some watercolor paints, something like that, that's another way to make your explosion colorful. That's awesome. All right, well, here I go. I'm gonna use the last of my vinegar here and we'll see what happens. I've got a giant purple explosion. All right, does anybody else want to show off their eruption? I see some really cool volcanoes. Yeah.
Oh,
Looks like
Diane,
Simon
Emma,
and Emma.
I tried lemon juice,
Uh-huh.
and a whole bunch of bubbles came out.
Oh, so you got a whole bunch of bubbles with lemon juice. That's awesome. Did anybody else get a chance to try it with lemon juice?
Me too.
Yeah, you saw the same thing?
I
Lots of
with
bubbles?
lemon juice.
Lemon juice with bubbles.
Yeah.
Lemon juice with bubbles.
The lemon juice makes a lot of bubbles. That's awesome. I'm so glad you guys were able to try it with some other materials. That's really cool. Oh yeah, it looks like a lot of you were able to try it with some lemon juice. I see Philip has some. Awesome.
Oh, That's a good one.
All right, so which one made a bigger reaction, the vinegar or the lemon juice?
Cy and Emma, do you have another comment?
Lemon juice.
Lemon juice made a bigger reaction for you. That's really cool. Good to know.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Vinegar.
Vinegar. Ah, so some people had a bigger reaction with the lemon juice, and some people had a bigger reaction with the vinegar. That's interesting. I wonder maybe if you used more lemon juice or more concentrated lemon juice or maybe more acidic vinegar. I don't know. That's interesting. Be interesting to test. See what we can do to get the biggest reaction. Awesome. You guys have some really nice volcanoes I'm seeing here. That's awesome. All right. Does anybody have any questions, or you all just want to keep experimenting on your own? I think Simon maybe has a question, or are we just waving?
That's all right. It looks like we don't have any more questions right now.
All right, I see a lot of people still experimenting, so that's awesome. Ooh, I see Philip has a blue eruption going right now. That's awesome.
All right.
All right, well, you can definitely keep experimenting. And if you come up with something really cool, we would love to see it. You could take a photo of it or take a video of it or even just describe it on our Facebook page. That way everybody who tunes in can know what cool thing you discovered with your volcano.
Tomorrow, if you want to join us, we're going to be having another activity at 10:30. It's called Traveling Sound, and we'll do some exploration experiments with sound waves. And for that, you'll need a couple of different materials, including a wire clothes hanger and some string or yarn, and then a couple other things that are all listed on our Facebook page.
Wow.
It should be really cool. So thank you for coming today, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Awesome. So fun to see all of you. Bye. Keep experimenting, and we want to see what your volcanoes can make.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
Ooh.